Hi. Hello everybody, I'm Maya, the owner of Illusion Elixirs at illusionelixirs.com, and today I'm going to be talking about how I became a vendor at a Renaissance festival. I got this dragon at a Renaissance festival. Actually, my friend got me this as a gift, so at the Renaissance festival when we vended together. It was truly one of the best times of my life, and I just felt like I needed to talk about it, and I feel like he had to be here, this little dragon. And I got this at the Renaissance Festival too, so it had to be there. I just want to talk about how I became a vendor because I'm sure there are some people that are interested in how to become a vendor at a Renaissance Festival. Renaissance festivals are just the best time, truly. They were like a light in the darkness for me. I started going to Renaissance festivals about 8 years ago, and it's like magic come to life. It's just so pure. It's just people enjoying themselves. It was like the light in the darkness for me because when most things are about drinking, I feel like yeah, there's still meat and everything, but it takes such an emphasis off that and puts the emphasis on acting and costumes and fun and talking to strangers and art and whimsy and everything good in this world. I love Renaissance festivals. So, I started vending at festivals, at music festivals, just laying down a blanket or popping up a table in the campsite years ago, probably like 8 years ago. And probably about 6 years ago, I really started vending, but not that regularly. So I feel like that's an important aspect, is that if you would like to vend a Renaissance festival, you should definitely have a product that's like kind of themed like the Renaissance Festival. I just naturally wanted to create products like that. But the Renaissance Festival has a huge variety of themes. You could make clothes, or you could make instruments, you could make so many different things, and it be considered as part of the Renaissance Festival. If you're making something unique or magical in any way, you're probably going to be good. I will say that most of the Renaissance festivals, I was gonna say in the United States, but it's probably this way in the entire world, is that the markets are really cornered. That's something I've really realized because I went to try to vend one of the biggest ones in the area, and they already had essential oil perfumes. So even though my essential oil perfumes have crystals in them and have intentions behind them and are like a spell, there's already people that have been doing it for 30 years. Maybe their family does it. And so I was almost met with hostility, to be honest, but it's just like, I think that they know it's almost a threat to them to know that, like, those people, they've cultivated such a relationship over the 30 years, that they've been vending, that they don't want somebody that's gonna be similar. So, you try to come into somewhere making leather work boots, and some family's already been doing that for 30 years, you're gonna have a really hard time entering into the Renaissance Festival. So I got really, really, really lucky that the Renaissance Festival that I vended at was actually its first year. So if you are really kind of new to vending, or new to like just the Renaissance thing or your creations, I think it would be best to try to seek one out that's a little bit smaller or in its first couple years. Unless you have like a really, really, really unique product and you have been vending for a while, it is possible that you could get into a very established Renaissance festival. I know that in the more recent years, they've started having more like fairy themed stuff and kind of mushroom themed things. It seems like also the jewelry market is a bit cornered for most of them. So But that doesn't mean that you can't do it. And they also do look for local vendors. So I just don't think it hurts to ask. All you have to do is just sign up. You know, like it doesn't hurt to try. Just don't be offended if you don't get in to your local Renaissance festival, because they do have so many people attempting to get in, and they do have so many people that kind of have cornered the market, have families that have been doing this for so long, and these people have relationships with them, you know. And one thing that I have also realized about Renaissance festivals is that the people that run them are just people that probably are out in the woods. They're probably out at a Renaissance festival right now, you know? So they are tough to get a hold of. They are tough people to get a hold of. I was told at the one that I got basically turned down by that I didn't receive an email. That means that I didn't get in, you know? And I guess I should have realized that, but it's just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna keep on you. Like, I'm going to ask you. I literally went to on location to ask. And even if I get turned down, I'm not hurt, because I gotta keep going and I gotta keep trying. And that's what I did. I kept going and kept trying and found a smaller one that I was able to get into. And then now also my friend is actually having me come to a different one. So you could also try to find somebody that already has a booth and try to split a booth with them. Something like that could also work. I've also realized throughout the time vending there is that it seems like people that vend kind of need help. So if you see somebody that is vending, maybe you go to your local one. I mean, they happen for 4 weeks, 6 weeks sometimes, right? If you see somebody that is just one person with a giant booth, it doesn't hurt to ask. You could say, hey, would you want help running this booth? Or like, hey, can I put my products up? One thing you'll realize about being in small business and being in sales and trying to get into events and things like that is you have to keep trying. You might have to drive a distance to get into one. You can't feel bad when you get turned down, or else you would just never get in, right? You just can't feel bad about the whole journey of starting a small business, you know? Like, I think that they also would probably look at your social medias and see that you have a social media following, but that's not necessarily true, because I know there's people like this lady, I couldn't even find her on social media, and she's very, very well established. So I think it depends. It depends on the situation, but I think it doesn't hurt to have an established social media that shows that you've vended before. And just shows that you're kind of themed in that way. When you do get into a Renaissance festival, at least the one that I got into, they give you a rundown of how you're supposed to act in front of customers. You're not allowed to smoke or vape or anything like that. You have to stay in character. And I would say like 90% of people like stayed in character most of the time. So really, like, I didn't think that I was gonna have to be in character like that, but I really noticed that it did make people's day to be in character. And of course I dressed up every day. I'm not like a full corset person, but I dressed up every single day. And you know, some of my friends that weren't as into Renaissance festivals, but they were just vendors, they got in as well. And they didn't have like outfits that were exactly for the situation, but they made it work, you know? And same with their booths, they just kind of added some vines and stuff. So it's like, you can make it work if you've been vending before. They just wore dresses, you know what I mean? Wear a crown, make a crown, you know? You can make it work. I just think vending the Renaissance Festival was one of the best times of my life. There was a few hitches in the road. It definitely was hot. It definitely was wild, and on that front, I feel like I've noticed something from just behind the scenes. Some of my neighbors were like really concerned with money and just like making their money's worth, and I get it. It's like tough, but I just think that brings down the energy, you know, and it's like, let's have fun and the money will come. Like, that's my mentality. But I stay in my vibe. You know what I mean? I keep it rolling. I keep the energy coming to me, and I definitely just was reading tarot and just having a good time and selling my products, and I did really well. I mean, not like the best ever, but it was its first year. It was a really small event, and I did really well, I think. And I just had the time of my life. There was just moments there where I was like, I can't believe I'm getting paid and doing this and having fun. You know, I really noticed that. I feel like the Renaissance Festival, there's jobs to do there. Like, I don't think they pay very well, but if you want a job at a Renaissance Festival, I think you could really get one and not even be a vendor, honestly. I feel like they're looking for actors as well, especially for those like newer ones. I feel like newer ones are going to be popping up more and more. Um, and you could even be a person that like says, hey, I'd love one in my small town, you know, that sort of thing, because it is possible, you know, it is possible to throw something together even on your own. You know, you could figure out a place to have a little magical meeting. It doesn't have to be a Renaissance festival. You can have that special moment. I don't think it's as hard as we think it is to have a gathering and have people sell their products. I think we put a huge wall in between that. I've been talking about that more and more and more. I just would love to just create like a magical space, because that was one thing that I realized about that event is that like I love Renaissance festivals. I love being magic, but I'm not as much an actor, you know, that never really has been me. I just like to be me, and I am witchy, you know. But I still think it's such a beautiful thing. I would love to create something of my own someday that's just kind of like magical makers meeting. That's a good name, actually. The magical makers meeting. Maybe I will name it that. That's a good name. Maybe I just came up with something right now on the spot and you guys saw it. That's pretty special. But if you have any additional questions, please leave them in the comments below. Tell me where you are on your journey of business, of vending. Are you just starting? Have you created products? Have you created anything magical that you think you could sell? Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't hurt to sign up. You can go to the website. You want to go to the website months in advance, for sure. Months in advance. But I hope that you got something out of this video, even if it was just entertainment for you. I'm sending you all of my love. Please check out illusionelixirs.com if you're interested in my delicious essential oil perfume filled with crystals and herbs and intention, so you can set the intention for the day, or any of my jewelry. It's all handmade. It's all one of a kind, handmade by me. I just love you all so much. That's illusionelixirs.com. Bye, everybody.